racist won silver place in the Liberty Cup Winter Cup Open Class races.
On your marks, get set, go. Good drop. Track is clear. Tough break from Mike early on. 1. Your leader Randy with Marlin on his tail. Here comes Chase. Randy in the all black, Marlin in the orange. 2. Tough break for Chase. 3. Randy in the all black, Marlin in the orange right behind him. Randy also running in 3rd. 4, final left. 6 to landing. Randy out front. Marlin running in 2nd. Randy in 3rd. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. On your mark. Get set, go. Good drop. One. Just out front, everybody else is on the hunt. Here comes Michaela and Brian. 2. So break for Charlie. Michaela out front. Chris running in 2nd on the hunt. Here comes Brian. 3. Michaela out front. Chris on the hunt. Here comes Brian in the black and red. 4, final lap. On your mark, get set, go. Good drop. 1. 2. 3. 4, final lap. There it is, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
So yes, against stellar competition, I prevailed and won silver place against a whole bunch of MS suspension cars, yes! So the other 4 cars, all MS suspension cars, I had the lone VZ chassis car with MS style gimmicks. I've got this front pivoting system right here. I've got a rear pivoting system, and these are the kinds of pivoting systems that are normally found on MS suspension cars, but I placed them on a VZ chassis, and I even have a custom tail damper that I designed. Pretty darn cool. And while this thing was rushing around the track, it looked like a little hummingbird with this flappy rear wing. Yeah, pretty cool. Oh, I know. Hummingbirds have 2 wings, not a rear wing. Rear tail flapping? I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And the last time I saw a gimmick that was so flappy like this was when I saw Rob's car when he came back from DXN in the West Coast, and he was racing against me, and he had such a car that had like a tail damper that had such a flappy wing. But this is not a copy of his. I had invented this on my own, and it just made sense to me. Pretty darn cool. Yeah, so I'm not going to reveal the details of this gimmick yet. For any of you who've seen my videos on the Grim Reaper, you'll see some details about the tail damper there. So I'm not going to go into full details, but in those videos on the Grim Reaper, you'll see some details on it. And I'll show you how to modify it later on, and basically just get this tail damper to be where you want it to be. Yeah, pretty darn cool. So yeah, this, as you see here, yes, it opens up quite a bit, this front pivot damper. Very, very nice. Now, in box stock and tune class, unfortunately, I didn't fare as well. I got into the quarterfinals on one race with my box stock car, the Japan Cup Ignition, but yeah, it kept on coursing out in what I call Death Valley. So Death Valley, as you see here with the purple circle on it, it is that little slight jump and then it goes into a sharp left turn. Yeah, so everyone has been coursing out in that little area right there. If your power is just too juiced up, you're going to course out right there. So one of the ways of getting around that is if you have a car that starts off kind of slowly and then builds up its speed over time, like really ramps up its speed, you can defeat that course by just starting in lane 1. And so, yeah, one of my colleagues found that out, and I think that's why he always had a preference for lane 1 to start off with. And that was very, very ingenious. So usually I like to start in lane 1, but this time it was like my cars are just fast out of the gate rather than a car that builds up speed. So my style of car, or my philosophy on racing, is different than others. So for some, it's about building up that speed, which is, I think, actually a better way of thinking about things than to just have a car that just goes lightning fast out of the gate and then slows down over time, which is what my philosophy is. And it's not my philosophy, it's just the way that I'm racing these cars. I'm putting certain kinds of batteries in them where the juice just goes down, 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 down each successive lap the car makes. So with certain types of batteries, you can have a consistent quality of voltage basically throughout the race. It's not consistent voltage, it's consistent ampage, sorry. So the voltage is always going to go down no matter what, right? Every lap you go, it's going to the battery voltage will just go a little bit lower, a little bit lower. But if you have a consistent ampage, then yeah, you're going to have a car that's consistently running around the track and will even beat out other cars in the 4th and 5th laps. And that was one of the design philosophies that Latif had for a lot of his cars, and that's why he was able to prevail on the 4th and 5th laps of a race. And that's why he was so good when he was competing against all of us at Hobbytown. Very, very cool. So this car here is super stable and solid, and unfortunately, against all of that vibrations, the track vibrations, this also coursed out in Death Valley. So that was unfortunate. I should have weighed down the rear a little bit more, just like I weighed down Grim Reaper. I discovered that if I weighed down Grim Reaper in the rear, I could defeat the Death Valley. Yes, most of the time. And yeah, I just had to keep my battery voltages below a certain amount. I had discovered while racing that whatever you do in practice, whatever voltage you have in practice, if you lower it just a smidge, you'll be able to stay on the track and you'll be able to deal with track vibrations against the other competitors. However, if you just run your batteries at full force that you used in your practice runs, you'll probably course out because you haven't dealt with the track vibrations as much as in a real race. So that was the key to my success in open class. It's just managing track vibrations and knowing how to deal with Death Valley. Some of the things that I was thinking about in terms of why certain people were able to deal with Death Valley better than others. It's because of battery voltages, yes, but there was also a major design philosophy that a lot of people shared where they basically roughed up or made thicker or made slower what was going on with the stabilizer on the left end. So when it was making that hairpin turn or those swivel turns, the left stabilizer, if it was wrapped in tape or wrapped with sponge brake and then taped over, you would get better resistance around those turns and you'd be able to stay on the track much better. So I discovered that yes, it did work out pretty much, not all the time, not consistently, but it worked out pretty much so with the configuration I have here. If I had used sponge brakes around this left stabilizer, who knows, maybe I would have stayed on the track without it ever coursing out. It was kind of weird to me to see this course out when it was so stable in practice, but that's just me and battery voltages and not dealing with battery voltages properly. So yeah, I wanted to really race Sally Racer for box stock. I had this, as you saw in my previous video, 27 kilometers per hour, pretty cool. It's probably 28 with proper Duracell Optimum batteries, maybe even faster than that, because this is smoking hot fast. And the thing is, with the VZ chassis and the rear rollers, it catches on the track, and it's just, it didn't work well with this particular track. So there were VZ cars racing in box stock, but the prevailing winners of all of the spots in the finals, they were all MA chassis cars. So this track, Latif's track, for this month is definitely an MA chassis kind of track. Yeah. So there were some FMA cars that did win, and the FMA cars that I saw were mock frames, and I believe I saw a Lord Guile as well. And yeah, the FMA cars, they all got into the quarterfinals and even the semifinals, but then the cars that would beat them were MA chassis cars. So yeah, this is definitely an MA chassis box stock type race, and we had well over 100 cars in the box stock tune class and open class. All the cars that you see here, it's just a preliminary showing of what was actually racing in the races. So yeah, there was well over, like, we had 100 and something cars in the Summer Cup, and that was a lot. This Winter Cup had more cars than that. Pretty darn cool. And yeah, I loved seeing all of the stellar competition across all the different race categories. So cool. There were a lot of people racing in box stock, a lot of people racing in tune class, and a lot of people racing in open class. And this Winter Cup is a qualifier for the Hobbytown Open Class Cup races coming in July of 2025. Yes, very, very cool. So, Evan won gold, I won silver, and Joe won bronze. And so we are the 3 qualifiers of this race to compete in the Open Class Cup. Pretty darn cool. And yeah, I was just like so happy that I was able to win with a VZ chassis car. Pretty darn cool. So yeah, I tried my other cars, my MS suspension cars. I have here the Green Goblin. I have here Blue Lightning, but unfortunately, the front part broke off, so I couldn't use this to compete. I also had my Pro car, Pro Tuners car, as well as various other open class cars that I tried, particularly FMA style cars. I have right here the Venom. And even some like weird designs right here, like this one. Remember this one? Yeah, this one was pretty fast too. But unfortunately, none of these like stayed on the track as well as the Grim Reaper. So the Grim Reaper was my choice for open class. Yeah, and I wanted to do my old style of racing, which was pick one car for each race. So you might think to yourself, oh, that's like putting all your eggs in one basket and stuff. It is, but that way that I raced long ago, I wanted to just prove that by entering a smaller number of cars that I could still prevail. So it didn't work out in box or tuned, but I was able to do so in open class. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, this racing philosophy is not for everybody. I think that if you really want to win a prize, you enter as many cars as you can, right? So you have more chances to win all the great prizes. And the Liberty Cup gives out lots of great prizes, tons and tons of great prizes, and there are more and more great prizes to come in the future. So yeah, we have not just car kits, but we also have mystery envelopes that contain the potential for getting things that are worth more than just a car kit. So yeah, sometimes they're worth a little less than a car kit. So it's a chance, right? So it's a chance that you have to take. If you want the mystery prize, then you have to take that chance. So yeah, some of the bigger mystery prizes. One of them was a design guide, a Tamiya Mini 4-wheel drive design guide. And if you look on eBay, you can buy those guides for like $35 a piece. So one person won that, and that's pretty cool. Also, we had collectibles. We had Funko Pop collectibles. Now, initially, one of my colleagues didn't want the Call of Duty Funko Pop that was offered there as a prize. But luckily, his son insisted that he choose that, because this Call of Duty Funko Pop is worth on the eBay market a lot of money. We're talking about upwards of $35 to $70. That's what this Funko Pop is worth. So yeah, we have valuable Funko Pop prizes too. So you're not just leaving with just mini 4-wheel drive prizes. You're leaving with, like, if you like comic books, right, Marvel and DC and other titles, other publishing house titles, you're going to love the fact that I give out comic books and comic book toys and things like that. So everyone who wins a podium spot gets a little Marvel, what is it? They're those little they're little board game pieces that I give out that have little caricatures or miniatures, that is, miniatures of Marvel characters. Pretty darn cool. So yeah, lots of great prizes at the Liberty Cup. So yeah, we had a lot of racers. We had all the SideBite team racers. They are a formidable team. They have some of the best Toon Class racers in the area, on the East Coast. Very, very cool. They're very fast. There are also some wicked box stock racers in that mix as well. And we had Team McBite, which we've relabeled as Venom Tuners for the time being. So the Venom Tuners team was there. We had some Deep Pit Stop folks there. We had some Portal Tuners people there as well. So very, very cool. Lots and lots of different people were there, different teams. And yeah, it was so fun to see young and old, male and female, all competing together for prizes and recognition. And yeah, so everyone that was in open class, all the podium winners go on to the Open Class Cup in Hobbytown, but they also, as well as the Toon Class, so Toon Class Podium and Open Class Podium, they are all invited to my Master of All Masters Invitational Race. Yes, Moami is what I'm calling it. Very, very cool. Moami. Just like Miami, but with an O. So, an O on the first letter. So, first vowel, that is. So yeah, the Moami is set to be done in July, and I think we're going to just tail it after the Summer Cup, maybe. So I think that makes the most sense right there. So the Master of All Masters Invitational. So it'll be a special race that'll be held after the Summer Cup. Same day, of course. So yeah, there we will see who is the fastest Toon Class car, who is the fastest Open Class car. Yeah, and we'll have special prizes for that. So very, very cool. So let's also talk about and give props to Latif for his amazing track this month. He has literally outdone himself with the design of this track for this month. It is not just like in previous months, previous times that we raced there, they were more or less like straightforward layouts with obstacles in them. Here, in this month's track, now we've got this overpass, underpass loop to deal with. And not to mention Death Valley was thrown in there too. Like, that's really cool. So the way he arranged all the pieces made it a lot more technical than we've seen before. And that's really cool. So imagine, if you will, all the racers start at the gate, they go down along the straightaway, then around some turns, over a little bump, and then around a hairpin turn to where they meet a little bump, and then a sharp left. And the sharp left then goes and winds around, and that sharp left right there, that little bump and sharp left, that's what I call Death Valley. Then it goes around these curves, up a tabletop, and then that overpass, underpass, so you go under the overpass, and then it goes round to a hairpin turn, up an almost vertical incline. It's not completely vertical, but it's like very sharp incline, and then it goes back down and around another sharp turn to where the start is, and you do that for 5 laps. Very, very cool, very, very interesting. So yeah, this is probably the most fun and also frustrating track that we've encountered in quite a while at SideBite. So very, very cool. Very, very awesome, and major props to Latif for designing this wicked track for all of us racers. So I know that there are going to be people who will say things like, oh, you shouldn't be putting like no length, no straightaway after a little bump, but it's like, well, you got to learn how to control the little bumps. Just because there's an obstacle doesn't mean that you have to make it easy for all the racers to navigate it, right? So it's got to be challenging. Otherwise, like, why do this, right? The fun of racing is to figure out all the puzzles, all the little puzzles that every track has. And if you're going to balk at something that is like too difficult for you to be able to navigate, then I think you need to do another hobby, right? Because the whole point of this, the whole point of navigating challenging tracks is to try to figure out what you can do to your car to make it navigate the track successfully. You don't cry and say, oh, I'm going to put a straightaway here because that would make it fair. No, who's it going to make it fair for? Like, yeah, it'll make it fair for everyone, but then what's the challenge of that? So yeah, that's why I think that what was done here with Death Valley was really awesome. It was very frustrating too. So a lot of people kept coursing out in Death Valley, but that's okay. That's the fun of this, and I like it. It reminded me of tracks that I would design, and so yeah, with all the criticism of my tracks being such small tracks and tight spaces, they are wicked and challenging and frustrating for a lot of people. So yeah, you have to really think outside the box to deal with tracks like mine, tracks like Latif's and this month's Winter Cup. Pretty darn cool. So everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel, and you'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you, bye.